Am I, 31F, being delusional about my husband's, 33M, co-worker?
Husband, 33M, and I, 31F, have been married for a few years, and attended his work colleague's, 37F, wedding.
She is lovely and I can see her being a diligent and caring co-worker. They're not close, but have known each other for a couple of years. On arriving at her wedding, she throws herself on my husband, and tried to touch his hair and fix his tie. He was very taken aback and pushed her away politely. Her face and hand visibly dropped when she saw my expression. I suffer no fools. I think she had a moment of realization of how inappropriate she was, and felt bad.
And look, I can't fault her. My husband is very conventionally handsome, so I'm used to the effect he has on some people.
She has just had a baby with her new husband and has been extremely vocal about not wanting to be married. Sadly, her new husband is clearly madly in love with her. And it isn't just us who noticed.
Both my husband and I felt uncomfortable at the wedding, with the snide comments, jokes about how not into him she is from their close family and friends. All in all, bizarre.
I think she is clearly unhappy, discontented. And perhaps she is just a touchy, feely person. But am I being delusional that I am getting a weird vibe? I feel she is projecting a lot of her wants onto my husband, and it's just uncomfortable for me to be around it. He would shut it down if it crosses a line, but he doesn't think anything is inappropriate. He agrees at the wedding she was weirdly overfamiliar, but he feels it isn't a pattern, attributes it to her heightened emotions and projecting her unhappiness too. Recently, she's made it clear she would like us all to be friends outside of work and to be closer, double date. My husband doesn't want to offend, so he has asked me to give it a shot. The cynic in me feels distrustful. I know if I refuse, my husband would not pursue it, but I would hate to begrudge him a friend if I'm just jumping to conclusions.
Am I just jealous? Or insecure?
To some extent probably. But I trust my husband. I just don't care to be friends, spend time with someone who would behave and openly talk about not wanting to be with their own spouse at their own wedding. And if I was newly married and a new mum like her, the last thing on my mind would be to pursue a new friendship with a male co-worker. No? Or am I being what the young people call, delulu? Too long did not read. My husband's co-worker behaved over-familiarly at her own wedding towards my and now would like to be friends. Is it just in my head or should I be worried? He can politely decline, both busy, seeing family, etc. I'd also tell him you're not comfortable with them being friends outside of work, so no texting etc. Seems like she is unhappy, married, and that poor guy but likes your husband, and it wouldn't surprise me if she pushed boundaries.
Too many red flags, for me.
Our rule of thumb for socializing is, friends of the marriage only. She's demonstrated that she's not even a friend of her own marriage.
Hard pass.
My husband doesn't want to offend.
Then he can just tell her you two are pretty busy, so he can't promise anything.
Or if that excuse doesn't work because he has other work buddies he hangs out with, he can just tell her he'll catch her at the next happy hour. Or he can just be honest that the constant dumping on her husband makes him uncomfortable, and he'd rather not.
Why does this have to be your problem? Because he doesn't know how to say no.
Weird that she felt comfortable enough to even touch him at all at the wedding. Wonder how they act when you're not there.
I am so jaded. I see your husband's shock at her touching him at her wedding as possible as being shocked that she would do that in front of you, not that she would do it at all. In other words, she has touched him a lot before, but he knows it is wrong to allow it, so he didn't want you to ever see it.
I also see him wanting to double date with her as them being on the date and you and her spouse along for the ride. I could be wrong, but my spidey senses are going off.
By the way, I am like not jealous, and I don't care if my husband has friends who are women, and he does.
However, none of them touch him like was described here, and some of them are touch people. So, just seems off. I would literally openly correct any woman who put her hands on my husband and ask them bluntly who the fuck they think they are. Are they confused? What is their problem? Something of that nature. Also, sorry to say, I don't know if I 100% believe your husband. I know, you trust him.
But something tells me she has touched him before without being corrected, at a minimum. My husband, 30M, thinks I, 31F, had an affair last night but I didn't. What do I do? I, F31, and my husband, 30M, have been married for 2 years.
We have a 2-year-old daughter. Last night I went to a bar for my coworker's engagement party. She is on my team and we are very close.
It was a group of 18 women who all work at the same location.
I got there early about 5:45 and sat by myself at the bar until other people started showing up. We had drinks and food, and then we left at around 9-ish. I came home and started to take a shower. My husband noticed red marks on both of my elbows. I genuinely have no clue where they came from, but one could assume they came from me having my elbows on the table. He thinks they are rug burn from an affair. At first, I thought he was joking and just laughed it off.
But when he continued to press it, I realized he was serious.
I did not cheat on my husband. I have never given him any doubt to think that I would cheat. I haven't lied in our marriage, and I don't really talk to guys. I was defensive when he confronted me about it. I was upset that he would think I would cheat on him. I was hurt that he had that image of my character in his head. After about 45 minutes of arguing, he said he believed me. I told him I was still hurt that he would accuse me for marks on my elbows. I still do not understand how that equates to cheating. I went to bed with him telling me he believed me.
This morning, I wake up to find him sleeping on the floor beside the bed. He will not look me in the eye, barely says a few words to me, and barely kisses me goodbye on his way to work.
I know he is still upset.
So I did the thing I know I shouldn't do, and I looked through his Facebook messages. After he told me he believed me, he messaged his friend and said that he thinks I'm having an affair.
He said in the messages that he has no reason to believe I'm having an affair, but the red marks are very suspicious.
That he wanted to go to the bar where I was last night and see if he can get footage. That he has a bad feeling. I told him that I saw the messages.
I told him that I was still very hurt that he thinks I would give everything up. I don't ever go anywhere, and I rarely talk to anyone.
I have a handful of friends, too, that I talk to you on the regular.
This is the first time I have gone to a bar by myself in years. We usually go together. We also follow each other's locations. He knew where I was the whole time. We were supposed to have a date night tonight.
My in-laws were going to keep my child for a sleepover, so we could have a last overnight date before my job started back up again.
I don't know if I want that to happen anymore. I feel completely demoralized and misjudged.
My question is, has this happened to anyone else?
What did you do?
What do you think I should do?
Too long did not read. My husband is accusing me of having an affair on a girls' night out. I did not have an affair. The only evidence he has to go on are red marks on both of my elbows. I do not know how to feel with this accusation. Okay. This is the second time he has acted insane and launched cheating accusations. Two things are happening here. 1. Either he's projecting and he is the one cheating. 2. He has some serious hang-up issues and he will continue to make these type of accusations until you have no friends, talk to no one but him, and slowly turn into a woman he is no longer wants to be with, and he then cheats and leaves you with well more children. This process usually takes a few years. Either way, his behavior is fucking insane. I see people suggesting counseling. I agree, get a consultation with an attorney. I am so angry for you right now. I would be tossing his crap in a box. Ugh, man.
That's awful that he has so little trust in you that he can jump to that conclusion so quickly. This is off from normal behavior, so you'll need to get some help to have a third-party talk with him about this.
Has he always had trust issues?
Your husband sounds insecure, like for the first time you two weren't joined at the hip, and that automatically makes you a cheater.
I hope you see how unhealthy his behavior is.
Don't take on his insecurities and make his issues your own.
I think he's using this as an excuse for you to not hang out with friends anymore. I think he's trying to control you.
Sad face. It's about control.
He's pissed off that you visited with friends without him.
Intellectually, he knows that's ridiculous, that there is no harm in going to a co-worker's party, and that if he were to tell you he's angry about that, he would look like some kind of crazy monster. But he's still pissed off, and he feels bad, so he has to come up with an excuse that allows him to blame you for how he feels.
Infidelity it is. You're in for more years of the same if you stay. He needs to really find the root of his issue, which could take years. You may have no friends at all or be allowed to converse with anyone. Please take a few weeks away from this guy, with family or something.
You'll see how free and how great it feels to not have to walk on eggshells.
I'm sure there are more stories you could tell. Think about it.
My wife, 23F, kissed a man while I, 23M, was away at work. How should I handle it? I, 23M, and wife, 23F, have been married for 3 years.
She told me that she kissed another man yesterday while I was away on a business trip. We've always been together up until this point. She's grew up being emotionally, mentally abused, and her last relationship was an abusive one and was assaulted. We've never had yelling arguments and have always been mature and discussed our problems. While I'm gone for the first time, she kinda mentally connected with a new guy from work and he pursued her, always giving her compliments and such. She's out of my league, but I pulled her with the kind of person I am since we were friends for about a year, and I have always been self-conscious about me, but she helped me feel better. But then she told me the day after she kissed another man. It messed me up and felt insecure. It started with just a work conversation in the car and he made a move on her and kissed her. He then proceeded to pressure her to do it. Given her past, she's scared of a man's anger and did it and went along with it. He then proceeds to tell her to go to the back seat and then make out. He got handsy with her and put her hands on him. She was feeling guilty about the whole thing while it was happening. But she was scared to stop it. He then makes plans at his house while his wife is at work. She said yes and then told me about it. I gave her a specific text to break it off and keep things professional at work. She can't quit. We need the income to be able to move in a few years. She sent it no with no hesitation. She tells me about it the next day and I feel like I wasn't enough and didn't give her the courage to stand up for herself, and I wasn't there to protect her or have her back. She's really guilty and I semi-blame her. She could have stopped it, but due to her past, is she right to go along with it due to fear? I love her very much and believe her 100%, but I still feel betrayed. How should I handle the situation? Sorry, mate. If she did indeed get assaulted by a coworker, that's what she's claiming, then it's a one-way trip to HR and the police. Get it on record. It's much more likely that they either did a lot more and you're getting trickle-trucked, or she wanted to do more but chickened out. Also, get your head out of your ass. Never, ever, sell yourself short. This crap about, above my league. 1. You pulled her, didn't you? So she's in your league. 2. If she does end up having cheated on you, or having chickened out on cheating on you, she never was in your league. She was so far down below it. Hell's basement looks like a penthouse apartment. She's out of my league, but I pulled her with the kind of person I am since we were friends for about a year, and I have always been self-conscious about me. This might be your issue on why you're failing to see the whole picture other comments are portraying. Get some professional help for yourself. Info. Why was she in the car with a man who had been pursuing her? Oh dude, you are fucked, laughing my ass off. You're defending her hard as hell in the comments. And call it victim blaming if you want, but she's just telling you she felt like she had to or something to get out of it. She can be abused all she wants in her past. It doesn't explain half of the shit you said, but props to her for managing to weaponize her trauma. IG. Dude, you are being gaslight. Going to the backseat because you are being pressured? Is your wife just going to sleep with every man that asks for it because she is scared? I heard this whole abused story 1,000 of times. And I know people that were really abused and can still communicate boundaries. One of my exes was molested as a child and she for sure wouldn't go on a backseat with a guy, and if he tried something she would have scratched his eyes out. That being said, everybody is different. But an abused woman who is scared of men will not go alone in a car with him. The whole story is more than fishy and she plays the victim. I would seriously rethink the relationship. Personally, I would probably leave. But at the very least you need couples counseling. Sounds like it. She did a hell of a lot more than kiss him. Ethical way to break up with girlfriend, F27, who relies on me, M25, financially and for a visa? I'm 25M dating a 27F from another country. We've been dating for about 18 months and I sponsored her visa to stay in the United States as a student after her previous program ended. I care about her a lot, but it's not a relationship I'm very happy in. She stresses me out a lot and has no interest in sex. I would rather start to date other people. I feel trapped because I fear there is no way for me to break up with her in an ethical way without shelling out tens of thousands of dollars. She relies on me for just about everything financially. I pay for her tuition at a community college and pay rent for the apartment we live together in.
She pays for almost all of her daily expenses such as food with one of my credit cards.
She's in an ESL program which she will complete in December but wants to continue studying after that. I don't want to keep living with her longer than I need to because we live in a one-bedroom.
But if I were to stop supporting her, she would be forced to return to her home country.
I've been pretty depressed the past few months because I feel totally trapped. What is the best way for me to end the relationship that doesn't totally screw her over? She's a very sensitive person, so I fear there's no way to do this without triggering her fear of abandonment and making her very upset.
Edit. Thank you everyone for your tough love and smart advice.
I will be contacting an immigration attorney first thing Monday morning to help figure out the best way to extricate myself from the situation. I still don't understand the romance fraud aspect of this because she has been using her real name through all of this, but I will lay it all out for the attorney and take whatever advice they give me.
This is not a relationship. You are essentially her employer sponsoring her stay here if there is no romantic component.
It's unlikely she will take the breakup well, but you shouldn't be setting yourself on fire to keep her warm. The most ethical way is immediately.
Tell your girlfriend that you are unhappy in the current situation and ask her how she intends to support herself. Let her know that you can no longer fully financially support her and she needs to put together a plan by X date to financially support herself.
Respectfully, you don't owe her a thing.
If she isn't fun to be around, and you are not intimate, she is a roommate who doesn't pay rent. You have to feed and are paying her tuition. You don't have to report her to anyone, but it's insane that you are supporting another human who has zero attachment to you outside of you feeling responsible.
Wow, you really screwed yourself on this one. You need to secure your important documents and possessions outside of the house before you do the breakup. You can provide her links to the community college's counseling or housing department, but make it clear that this is the end of your relationship. Do not be convinced to continue to give her money or visa support even if she leaves the shared home. Once you respectfully break things off, be sure to express the reasons for doing so to your loved ones and friends first so you control the narrative.